Hello everyone, so I am Rachel Lovesey and I am the Head of Patient Experience and Engagement at Northampton General Hospital, and I'm going to be talking to you today about our entry, which is the Wood for the Trees, and this is all about ward level results for trust-wide improvement. It's just a little bit about us. So the CQC National Inpatient Survey, which is the main focus area really for this project. I'm probably talking to a lot of people that understand a lot about the inpatient survey, so apologies if you know all about this, but I'm just going to give you a bit of background on it. So this is a nationally mandated survey which runs each year within adult inpatient wards. And it's based on what PICA identified through research as the areas that mean the most to patients. So any patient that was admitted to hospital within July or August time may be issued with a survey, and obviously that is going to be changing to November, and then results are published in July the following year. Each question is given a score out of 10 within the actual CQC report. Reports show whether the trust has performed as better, about the same or worse than the national averages for that same year. Trusts can also see whether they have improved statistically significantly or obviously decreased since the previous year. So the problem that we faced, and I know that we are not alone in this. We had problems in that there was no particular progress in improving results. So year on year, we were seeing an increase in the amount of questions which we were performing worse nationally, and we actually hit quite a rock bottom for the hospital in 2016, where we actually had 10 questions that were worse than the national average. And I think a lot of this was because there was just a lack of ownership of the results. Because they are trust-wide as opposed to being ward-specific, there was the attitude of that's not my ward. We don't do that here. We don't have problems with that here. We also had an inability to monitor progress, and that also led to an inability to predict what future issues were going to be. So each year it was like opening the email of doom. What's the results going to be this year? Because we were just really unaware. We didn't feel that the friends and family test equipped us with the knowledge for certain areas, because it's very reliant on people actively stating those areas within a free text comment. So it just wasn't. It's not designed to pick up on those maybe smaller details that patients perhaps wouldn't mention. And also corporate-led action plans, they just didn't work. Again, it's going back to that lack of ownership. That's not my ward. So we just ended up with a really disengaged workforce, really. The results would come out and people just didn't have the ownership of it. So what needed to change? I think it's pretty clear from the problem, really, that actually what we needed was information at ward level that, ward managers could own, and then we needed it quicker. A year after collection was just too long. So the solution. So 3 members of Team NGH actually visited Northumbria in July of 2016 to see how they were achieving such excellent patient experience results, and they really are doing fantastic things up there, and they're very welcoming. And as a result of that, we actually commissioned Patient Perspective to undertake a condensed version of the National Inpatient Survey. And this created our mini national survey, as we call it. So the survey itself, questions from the inpatient survey based on what matters the most to patients in areas of underperformance. Obviously, that's absolutely critical because we want to monitor change. 500 surveys are sent out every month, 2 weeks or so after a patient has left. And that obviously is to give patients the opportunity to reflect. So some of those questions that are in there require the community services to have been established, follow-up, discharge. Again, if you're collecting information while patients are still in with you, you miss that. So it was important to us that we gave patients an opportunity to reflect. Results are produced quarterly at the trust-wide and ward level, and each ward receives details on how they themselves compare nationally, and that has been absolutely critical. So we have learnt lessons along the way. Obviously, this has been running for some time now, and it was important for me that we established whether this was successful and whether it worked. Hence why this is coming to you guys now, when actually it's been set up for quite a few years. I wanted to make sure that it was something that was productive. So the main lessons really were that monthly ward level data didn't work. It just wasn't enough responses. If you start breaking it down to ward level, some wards are only getting 2 responses. If you get your 2 most agitated patients replying, of course their responses are always valid, but when you start putting it into tables and looking at data, it just didn't work. So for some wards, face-to-face still works better, and they tend to be our long stay wards. So our more elderly patients who perhaps prefer to have a conversation rather than to receive a pretty hefty sleep, have a look back and think, okay, so this ward have got a problem with feeling like you're involved in decisions about your discharge. So there's your focus area. The mini national survey, obviously, we established a forum where we were able to discuss results and look at improvement ideas and share best practice. That's still very much in its infancy, and we're working our way through how best to do that. But it's been great to get people in a room talking about it. Results are shared through patient experience, governance, nurses and councils. Pretty much anywhere that we can get the results, they are shared. But also circulated beyond those wards to places like pharmacy, infection prevention. There's questions on there that are very relevant to them, and QI, and again, lots and lots of others. I couldn't list them all. We triangulate results with other metrics, which obviously is really important, and we've even had somebody come forward and request data for part of their MSc project, which again is, I'll put that in there because it just emphasises that this data is now becoming known. So the results, this is probably the most critical part for us, obviously, as an organisation, is to see how we have improved. So if we look at our year-on-year comparative data, we can see that actually from its initiation in 2016, 15% of our questions were actually in the bottom 20%. And each year since then, and obviously this was produced, this entry came in before our 2019 results, so they're not on there. But yeah, so we've improved every year, and I mean even from year on year, that's quite a significant depreciation, and it's actually really difficult to make an impact on your national survey results. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience, but you're looking at such a huge change. But actually we made it palatable. It was manageable. Each ward could focus, and they did. And actually, if it's 2 wards that are really dragging a question down, really dragging that satisfaction down, if they do focus on that, you will see improvements, and this is evidence of that. So 2018 was actually our best result that we had in many years in terms of the amount of questions that we had within that bottom 20%. And just to show as well that obviously this is a bit of a beast really, in terms that you could see other areas depreciate nationally and you stay the same, and actually that then makes it look like you've made an improvement. So I just wanted to include some examples of areas that we've really tried to focus on in different areas, and show that we have actually made improvements, and where we've gone from worse to about the same as well. So as you can see, confidence in decisions being made, danger signals being explained, who to contact. Medication side effects is one that we've really done a lot of work on. So all of these have had specific focus. So for example, medication side effects, pharmacy actually have been focusing on that. They produced a helpline basically that they set up, and we give it out with every TTO bag. So just examples there. So future plans. Obviously we still have a way to go. Our 2019 results were not great. However, that just showed to me that we needed to have a refresh. Things do need refreshing. They become part of the background. We don't want that. So that's what we're doing now. We're reviewing the current methods, checking over our survey. and obviously making sure that it's all still relevant. It's also live in ED, and we're also going to be setting up some ward buddying as well for areas that are doing well and areas that are not doing so well. And obviously there are still questions, even though Noise at Night we've improved, we're still struggling, so we continue to focus and fight the good fight on that one. I've gone over by 1 minute, so I'm going to stop talking now, but thank you very much for listening, and if you'd like to ask any questions, I welcome that. Thank you.